Hi everyone, and I hope you're enjoying the subject thus far. So what I want to do now is record a mini lecture on topic 3 part 2. So I think topic 3 part 2 is going to be divided up into lecture 1 and lecture 2. Okay, learning outcomes, learning objectives. All right, so what I want to think about, or what I want you guys to think about in the next 10 to 15 minutes, is about the plasma membrane. So let's have a look and just remind ourselves what the plasma membrane was. So here is our cell. This is outside of the cell. This is inside of the cell. And the plasma membrane is the barrier. Yeah? So it's this orange part here. Remember that the cell has a nucleus, yeah, and has something called the cytoplasm, which is everything between this and this. And we looked at all the different organelles last time, okay? So let's just focus on this orange barrier here, okay? Now what I want you guys to understand is that the plasma membrane, the cell membrane, is very fussy, okay? By fussy, I mean it won't let everything through, okay? So let's have a look and see. Look at this, oxygen, okay? Here is one atom of oxygen stuck to another atom of oxygen, so that means it's O2. See how that goes right through the plasma membrane? Awesome, lets itself in. No dramas whatsoever. Look at water. Yeah. Look at this one. Organic molecule. Can that one go through? No. What about sugar? No. What about all of these? No. What about this one? No. Okay? So what I want you to understand is that the plasma membrane is picky and it only lets through certain things. Okay? The plasma membrane only lets through certain things into the cell. Okay? Some things are allowed to pass and some are not. So this property of being fussy is called selectively permeable. So permeable means to let through, and selective means that it chooses what things to let through. All right, so let's think about gradients now. What is a gradient? Okay, gradient just means that there's more stuff on one end that there is in the other end, just like a slope. Okay, just like a slope. A gradient is a slope. All right, so in our subject, we can think of a concentration gradient. You can see here there's no pattern, and if I were to draw a line, this would be the pattern. But if I were to draw something here, I would have high concentration and then low concentration. Do you see the pattern? Yeah? Okay, so this is what a gradient is. Okay, it's like a slope. Okay, it's a slope. So if we have lots of stuff on one end and not a lot of stuff on the other end, we set up a gradient. We set up a slope. Okay? Now, usually when we talk about gradients, we're talking about solutes. Okay? So remember what solutes were? Yeah. If you've forgotten, go back to the recording and add it in, okay? So these are things that we put into a solvent to make a solution, okay? So here we go. So if we look at these orange circles as solutes, we can see that there's more here than there are here. So we have this slope, a gradient, okay? Now, to move these orange dots from an area of high concentration to low, we don't need any energy to do that. It happens naturally. So if we want to go from here to here, we don't need any energy because things naturally go or move from an area of high concentration to low because there's more stuff here and less stuff here. Stuff is going to move. Now if we want to go the other way, we want to go from low to high, then we have to force the orange dot to where it doesn't want to go. And that does require energy. This is okay because it wants to go this way. This is harder because the orange dot doesn't want to go there. Okay? All right. So what is this called? This movement of molecules. Okay? So this is another beautiful fact of life. Molecules move around all the time. And how they move is they move from an area of high concentration to low. Okay? And that is the definition of diffusion. All right? And that's just a fact of life, a natural phenomenon. Okay? So if you look at this picture, this is high concentration, low, and eventually look, they're all going to move across to equal it out because that is nature. Okay? Okay, so just a little bit of terminology. If you're moving from an area of high to low, that means you're going down the concentration gradient. Okay? Because you're going down the slide. If I were to look at my gradient like this, I start up here and I end up down here. So you're going down. Okay? If you go the other way, wait a second. Whoops. If you go the other way, which is, where's my pen gone? This way, you're going against the gradient. Okay, you're going up. Because if you draw it out like a slope, okay, you're not going down, you're going back up again, back up the slide. And everybody knows that if you go down a slide, it's easier than going up a slide. Okay? So just be mindful of just that wording. All right? So this is just another example. Have a look at the water. Don't look at the red ones. Just look at the water ones. Okay? Look at the blue ones. Can you see here they're all hanging around? But what they want to do is they want to move from an area of high concentration to low. So they're going to want to move this way because that is diffusion and that is a law of nature. Okay? Okay, so a lot of substances, like lots and lots and lots of molecules in our bodies move by diffusion, but not all of them. Okay, so diffusion is not the only way that molecules move around. They can also be filtered. Okay, Now, we can look at filtration later because filtration happens in select kind of spots, and I will point them out to you when we come across them. Yeah, in the kidneys is one thing, okay, but just be mindful for now that not all molecules move via diffusion, that sometimes there's another process. I'll let you guys watch this little video and just a little graphic for you. Okay, so let's think about the rates of diffusion now. Okay, remember what diffusion was? Diffusion is the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to low concentration. So there are things that are going to affect that. Okay? First of all, temperature. Okay? If the more heat you have, the more molecules are going to move around. And the more that the molecules move around, the more they are going to move. Okay? If a molecule is really big and heavy, it's going to take more energy for it to move around, to get one from one spot to the other spot. Okay? So that means it's going to lower the diffusion rate. So big molecule wants to move from this spot to that spot. It's going to take it longer than if it were a small, lighter molecule because it involves more energy. Okay? So the bigger the molecule, the more energy it needs to get moving, and so it's going to take longer for it to get to where it needs to go. Okay? Let's have a look at this, the steepness of the gradient. Okay? This one versus this one. Which one do you think will result in quicker diffusion across the membrane? This one. Okay? Because there's more molecules. The concentration gradient is steeper. So if I were to draw this out, I would have something like this. Yeah? Versus something like this. Can you see how that is steeper than that? Yeah? So the steeper the gradient, the increased diffusion rate. So the steeper the gradient, the quicker it's going to be for these guys to get into here. Okay, surface area has an effect on diffusion rate as well. If I only have a little area, I don't have a lot of space to kind of cross. If I have a big area, I have more room to diffuse through. Yeah? And the other thing that we need to think about is membrane permeability. Now remember, to be permeable means that you can put things through it. Okay? So let's have a look at this cell here. As you can see, this plasma membrane is not permeable at all to my molecules. Does that mean that they're going to diffuse through? No. Let's have a look at this cell here. This cell is more permeable to my molecules, isn't it? Because this guy can go through, this guy can go through, and this one can't. So the more permeable the plasma membrane is, the easier molecules are going to be able to move from one location to the other location. Okay? Okay, I'll stop it there and we'll